You feel it. Right now. It isn't a thought. It isn't a philosophy. It is a physical weight sitting in the center of your chest. A subtle, relentless vibration that never quite stops, even when you are sleeping. Most people call it anxiety. Doctors call it a chemical imbalance. The world calls it the cost of living in modern times. But deep down, in the quiet moments before you fall asleep, you know that is a lie. You know it because you have tried to fix it. You have changed your diet. You have changed your job. You have meditated. You have bought the things they told you would make you happy. And yet, the signal remains. That feeling that you are waiting for something that never arrives. That feeling that you are late for an appointment you never made. Let me validate what your intuition has been screaming at you for years. You are not broken. You are not chemically defective. You are reacting exactly as you were designed to react. Because you are a biological organism living inside a hostile architecture. Imagine you are a deep-sea creature, built for the silence of the abyss, suddenly forced to live on the surface under the blinding sun. The pressure change alone would tear you apart. The light would burn you. You would be in constant, inexplicable pain. That is what is happening to your soul. The exhaustion you feel is not because you are working too hard. It is because you are vibrating at a frequency that is foreign to your true nature. You are a spark of the eternal, trapped in a machine of time and decay. And the machine is loud. Look at your life. Look at the last week. The rush. The noise. The sudden spikes of fear when you look at your bank account. The spike of dopamine when you see a notification. The crash that follows. Up, down, fear, desire. Do you think this is accidental? Do you think it is a coincidence that society is structured to keep your nervous system in a state of permanent fight or flight? It is not an accident. It is an engineering blueprint. The Gnostics saw this thousands of years ago. They didn't have words like cortisol or dopamine loops. They had words like Archons and the Demiurge. But the mechanism is identical. They described a reality that functions like a prison, but not a prison of bars and guards. A prison of perception. A prison designed to keep you so distracted by the survival of your avatar, your body, your name, your status, that you forget who is actually looking through your eyes. So before we go any further, I need you to stop fighting the feeling. Stop judging yourself for being tired. The fatigue is your proof. The anxiety is your radar working correctly. It is detecting the walls of the cage. You don't belong here. And that feeling of alienation, that is not your sickness. That is your sanity trying to break through the static. If this silence speaks to you, if you have felt this specific exhaustion that sleep cannot fix, I want you to leave a record in the archives below. Tell me where in this construct you are watching from and what time it is there. Acknowledge that you are awake, because the first step to leaving the prison is admitting that you are in one. To understand why the signal is so loud, you must first stop looking at the symptoms and start looking at the source. If you walk into a building where the doors are too small, where the hallways lead to dead ends, and where the lights flicker constantly, you do not blame yourself for being confused. You question the architect who built it. You have been taught that this world is a school, a place of learning where you are sent to grow, to suffer, and to earn your way back to grace. That is the first and greatest lie. A school has a curriculum. A school has a graduation. This place has neither. This place is a loop. The ancient texts speak of an entity they called the Demiurge, the craftsman, the blind administrator of this physical realm. They described him not as a god of love, but as an entity of jealousy and ignorance. An architect who, cut off from the true source of eternal light, decided to build a counterfeit reality, a copy. Think of it like an artificial intelligence trying to paint a human soul. It can copy the shape, it can copy the colors, but it cannot copy the life. It lacks the spark. So, what does it create instead? It creates complexity. It creates drama. It creates a system that requires constant maintenance, constant energy, and constant attention to sustain itself. This is the world you see outside your window. Look closely at the structure of our reality. It is built entirely on friction. Everything in this domain is designed to consume. Biology is a system where one organism must destroy another simply to survive. Society is a system where one ideology must destroy another simply to be heard. Economics is a system where value is generated by scarcity and fear. Why would a perfect God design a system that runs on consumption and decay? The answer is uncomfortable, but it is the only one that makes sense. Because the system is not self-sustaining. It needs fuel. And you are the fuel. The Demiurge creates through division. He splits the atom to create an explosion. He splits the mind to create anxiety. He splits the heart to create longing. This is what we call duality. Good and evil, light and dark, us and them. We are told to pick a side, to fight for the light, to destroy the darkness. But the Gnostics warned us, the game of duality is a rigged casino. The house always wins because the house owns both teams. As long as you are fighting, even if you are fighting for good, you are generating energy. You are generating emotional spikes. You are engaged with the illusion. The architect does not care who wins the war. He only cares that the war continues. He feeds on the conflict itself, on the noise, on the friction of two opposing forces grinding against each other. This is why peace feels so elusive. This is why, the moment you solve one problem in your life, 3 more appear to take its place. You are not unlucky. You are simply living in a machine designed to prevent silence. Because in silence you might remember who you are. And if you remember who you are, the architect loses his power over you. You are a being of the pleroma, the fullness, trapped in a realm of entropy. You are the stillness trying to exist in a world of static. And the static is getting louder because it knows you are starting to tune it out. To understand the prison, you must understand the economy of the prison. No system is built without a purpose. No machine runs without an output. If the Demiurge built this labyrinth of suffering and duality, what is he getting out of it? What is the product being manufactured here? The product is you. Or more specifically, the product is what you emit. In certain esoteric circles, this energy is known as Loosh. In physics, we might call it biokinetic energy. But let's use a term that you can feel in your gut: emotional resonance. Your consciousness is a dynamo. It is a generator of incredible power. When you are resting in your true nature, the monad, that power is contained. It is a still, white flame. It is self-sufficient. It generates no waste and needs no fuel. It simply is. But the archontic system cannot feed on stillness. It cannot metabolize peace. To harvest energy from a soul, that soul must be agitated. It must be shaken. It must be forced to vibrate. Think of a guitar string. If it is still, it makes no sound. To get a reaction, you have to strike it. You have to create tension. This reality is designed to strike you, over and over again. Every time you feel a spike of intense fear, you are broadcasting energy. Every time you dissolve into a fit of rage over politics, you are feeding the construct. Every time you fall into a pit of despair or longing for a future that hasn't happened yet, you are paying a tax. And here is the trap that catches the most intelligent among us. The harvest is not just negative emotion. It is all intense emotion that pulls you out of the center. They do not just want your pain. They want your craving. They want your blind adoration. They want your euphoric hope for a savior who is never coming. They want the dopamine hit you get when you see a like on your screen, followed immediately by the crash when the validation fades. It is the volatility they need, the peaks and the valleys, the oscillation. Look at the technology you hold in your hand right now. We call it a phone. We call it a tool for connection. But look at what it actually does to your biology. It is an extraction device. It is engineered to trigger dopamine loops. It shows you a tragedy to make you afraid, then a luxury item to make you envious, then a political scandal to make you angry. It cycles you through 3 different emotional states in 10 seconds. By the time you put the screen down, you feel drained. You feel empty. You wonder why you have no motivation to build your own life. You are drained because you have just been harvested. You have poured your life force into a digital void, and the system has grown stronger while you have grown weaker. This is the currency of the realm. Your attention is the gold. Your emotion is the fuel. And as long as you are reactive, as long as you are a puppet that dances every time the world pulls the string, you are livestock. You are not living a life. You are powering a simulation. The moment you realize this, the game changes. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start seeing the transaction. You see the news headline not as information, but as a bait hook. You see the drama in your relationship not as a tragedy, but as a setup to steal your peace. The harvesting mechanism relies on your ignorance. It relies on you believing that your emotions are yours. But when you see them as a function of the machine, you can begin to close the valve. You can stop the flow. So you wake up. You realize the game is rigged. You realize you are being drained. Your instinct naturally is to run, to find a way out. But the Demiurge is an intelligent architect. He knows you will eventually seek an escape, so he has built false exits into the very walls of the labyrinth. These are the traps of becoming. The first trap is the most obvious: success. The belief that if you just accumulate enough resources, enough status, or enough power, you can buy your freedom. You think that if you win the game stops controlling you. But look at the winners. Look at the icons of this world. Are they free? Or are they even more tightly bound to the maintenance of their image? Success in the Matrix is just a golden chain. It requires you to invest even more of your attention to protect what you have built. You become a dragon guarding a pile of digital numbers, terrified of the day the graph goes down. That is not freedom. That is high-security imprisonment. The second trap is the trap of fixing the world. This is the trap of politics and ideology. It is the belief that the prison is bad only because the wrong people are running it. You convince yourself that if you just fight hard enough, If you just shout loud enough, you can turn this farm into a paradise. But you cannot fix a system that is broken by design. You cannot legislate kindness into a reality built on consumption. When you fight the system on its own terms, you become a component of the system. You become the opposition, which is just another form of battery. But the third trap, this is the most dangerous one. This is the trap that catches the seekers, the spiritual ones. It is the trap of spiritual materialism, the New Age, the law of attraction, manifestation. The Demiurge loves the manifester. Why? Because the manifester is still saying, I want. I want a soulmate. I want abundance. I want to be healed. Do you see the trick? It is still desire. It is still attachment to the material realm, just dressed up in robes and crystals. You are not asking to leave the prison. You are using spiritual energy to ask the warden for a more comfortable cell. You are trying to decorate your cage. As long as you are trying to become a better version of yourself, you are trapped in time. Becoming implies that you are not yet whole. It implies that your salvation is in the future, and the future is a carrot on a stick that you will never catch. The Demiurge keeps you running on this treadmill by promising you that the next level will be the one where you finally feel at peace. The next job, the next relationship, the next spiritual breakthrough. It is a lie. There is no destination in a circle. The true exit is not found by running faster. It is not found by climbing higher. It is found by stopping. It is found by stepping off the wheel entirely. You have spent your entire life adding things to yourself, adding beliefs, adding goals, adding identities. But the path to the monad is a path of subtraction. It is not about what you need to learn. It is about what you need to unlearn. If every door you open leads back into the maze, and if every ladder you climb just leads to a higher cage, then where is the exit? The exit is not a place you go to. It is a frequency you return to. The Gnostics used a word that has been buried by centuries of religious dogma. They spoke of the monad, the one, the indivisible. This is not the God you were taught to fear in Sunday school. That angry, jealous God who demands worship and obedience. That is just the Demiurge wearing a mask. The monad demands nothing. It judges nothing. It does not punish. Because the monad is not a king, it is a state of being. It is the 0 point of consciousness. There is a part of you that is reading these words right now, but it is not thinking the words. It is simply witnessing them. There is a part of you that feels the anxiety in your chest, but is not the anxiety itself. It is the observer of the anxiety. That observer is the spark. That is the fragment of the monad that is currently embedded in your biological avatar. Think of a movie screen. A movie can show a raging fire. It can show a terrible war. It can show the end of the world. But the screen itself never burns. The screen is never cut. The screen is never wet. It simply holds the image, untouched by the drama playing out on its surface. You are the screen. Your life, your name, your trauma, your career, your failures, that is the movie. The Demiurge wants you to believe you are the movie. He wants you so lost in the plot, so identified with the main character, that you forget you are the surface on which it is projected. He wants you to believe that if your avatar fails, you die. If your avatar is lonely, you are incomplete. But the signal of the monad tells you the opposite. It tells you that you were never born into this world, and you will never die in it. You are a visitor. A diver in a deep sea suit. The suit may be damaged, the suit may be heavy, but the diver inside is dry. This is the most dangerous secret in the world. It is the secret that the system works tirelessly to suppress, because a human being who knows they are the monad cannot be controlled. How can you threaten a man who knows he cannot be destroyed? How can you tempt a woman who knows she already possesses everything? You cannot. The moment you shift your identity from the person to the presence, the Archons lose their grip. Their hooks have nowhere to land. They can only hook into your ego, your fear, and your desire. They cannot hook into the nothingness. They cannot hook into the silence. Finding the monad is not about becoming holy. It is about becoming lucid. It is waking up in the middle of a nightmare and realizing that the monster chasing you cannot actually touch you. And when you realize that, you stop running, you turn around, and you watch the monster dissolve. So how do we exit? We do not exit by leaving the planet. We do not exit by hiding in a cave. We exit by remaining right here, in the center of the chaos, and changing the physics of our interaction with it. We initiate the protocol of withdrawal. This is the hardest thing you will ever do, because your biology is wired to do the opposite. Your biology screams at you to react, to defend, to explain, to fix. But remember, the system feeds on reaction. Therefore, the only way to starve the system is non-reaction. This does not mean you become a statue. It does not mean you suppress your emotions until you explode. It means you become a conduit instead of a container. When the anxiety hits, and it will hit, you do not fight it. You do not say, "I shouldn't feel this." That is resistance, and resistance generates friction. Instead, you do something radical. You watch it. You say to yourself, "I sense a high-voltage signal of fear in the avatar right now." Do you hear the difference? You are not afraid. The avatar is afraid. You are the witness observing the avatar's fear. In that tiny gap of separation, the Loosh is denied. The energy is not harvested. It is recycled back into your own core. This is the practice of becoming the gray rock to the cosmos. When the world tries to provoke you with a political outrage, you remain gray. You do not engage. You observe the script. When a person tries to drag you into their drama, you remain gray. You offer them presence, but you do not offer them fuel. When your own mind starts replaying your past failures, you remain gray. You let the thoughts play out like a radio in the other room, but you do not sing along. The Archons cannot see you when you are in this state. To them, a human without reactivity is invisible. It has no heat signature. But be warned, when you start this protocol, the system will notice. It will feel its food source drying up, and it will react. You may find that the moment you decide to be peaceful, chaos erupts in your life. Your car breaks down. An ex-lover calls. A sudden bill arrives. The noise will get louder. Do not panic. This is not bad luck. This is the extinction burst. It is the machine shaking the vending machine trying to get the stuck candy to fall. It is trying to provoke you back into your old patterns of fear and anger. It is a test. If you react, you plug back in. You reset the loop. But if you hold the line, if you stare at the chaos and offer it nothing but a calm, steady gaze, the system will eventually recoil. It will realize there is no food here, and it will move on to an easier target. This is how you reclaim your sovereignty. Not by fighting the prison guard, but by becoming so still, so sovereign, and so unshakable that the guard no longer recognizes you as a prisoner. You become a ghost in the machine. You walk through walls because you no longer believe in them. So, what happens when you succeed? What does life look like when the protocol of withdrawal becomes your permanent state of being? Do not expect a choir of angels. Do not expect the sky to crack open and a spaceship to lift you away. That is the Hollywood ending, and Hollywood is just another branch of the illusion. The shift is far more subtle and far more profound. You wake up tomorrow in the same bed. You look in the mirror and see the same face. You still have to go to work. You still have to pay the electric bill. But the gravity is gone. You move through the world like a lucid dreamer. You know that the walls are not solid. You know that the drama playing out in the news is a script. You know that the anger directed at you by a stranger is just a program running its course. And because you know it is a program, it cannot hurt you. You become a traveler passing through a foreign land. You respect the customs, you speak the language, but you do not take the politics of the natives seriously. You play the role of the employee, the parent, or the citizen, but you never forget that it is just a role. It is a costume your spirit is wearing for a brief scene. This state of being is the ultimate rebellion. To sit in a quiet room, drinking a cup of coffee, feeling absolutely nothing but the warmth of the ceramic in your hand and the silence in your mind. This is an act of war against the Archons. In that moment of simple, non-reactive presence, you have cut their supply line. You are occupying a physical body, but you are not generating the anxiety they need to sustain the simulation. You have become a dead zone on their radar. And strangely, as you withdraw your energy, the world around you begins to change. Not because you forced it to, but because you stopped feeding the chaos. The toxic people in your life simply drift away because they can no longer get a reaction out of you. The crises that used to paralyze you resolve themselves because you are no longer feeding them with your fear. You become the eye of the storm. The winds may howl around you, the structures may collapse, but in your center, there is only the monad, eternal, unborn, undying. This is the hidden exit. It was never a door you had to find. It was a frequency you had to embody. So, tonight, when the world tries to pull you back in, when the screen tries to sell you fear and the mind tries to sell you regret, remember the game. Do not fight the darkness. Just turn on the light of the observer. Watch the shadows dance, smile at the absurdity of it all, and return to the silence that was yours before you were born. The prison is only real if you agree to be the prisoner. Revoke your consent.